All right, how's it going, everybody? Today is Sunday. We have just concluded coming back from the game day barbell meet. One of the last, I thought I was done with meets in November. And then the team called upon services, so we went over to game day barbell, made sure that we actually had quite a bit of lifters there for a local meet. And we had a really good day there. Demetrius pulled, I believe, 826 pounds. Big Rob squatted 800 for the first time. We had a lot of good lifts. Sean Mills hit 347.5 kg squat. It was crazy. He's made some great improvements. So many more lifters. If I'm not mentioning, they did great. The team did great. We had 4 coaches out there. It was myself, Mikey, Grant, and Joe. So that was great. It was just a great time. Great energy, great time to be out there with the Texas community of powerlifting, as always. And so yeah, came back this morning and had to get in my session that's usually on Saturdays. Got it in today, Sunday. Sundays are my heavy work days for block creation, but we don't want to miss the mark on our consistency. So with that being said, brings up the subject of, I had 2 topics that I had on my notes. One of them was why you won't make it in powerlifting, and the other one was the essence of dedication. So coming from, over a decade time period in football and knowing how highly competitive it is in that sport, and then coming into powerlifting now for the past 6 years, and even when I was playing football, I was watching, my family member do his thing and start in this community back in the early 10s, right, 2010s. And one thing I know about sports, one thing I know about industries, one thing I know about competition, not just like the direct meaning of competition, but also like being competitive long term, is that a lot of people see the highest level athletes and coaches achieve, these tremendous accolades and incredible just milestones that we've never seen before, right? Year in and year out. But, the cliche saying, they don't see the dirty work that's behind that, right? And a lot of times, it's not most of my roster, but throughout the year, I'll see a couple where, they will, when they start out, they're very hyped, right? They're very excited, with new onboarding athletes. And it's usually around the time frame where, Sheffield has just concluded, a world's meet just concluded, nationals just concluded, maybe a big local where there's like a lot of big top tier talent competing there. And, the high of excellence will be there for sure, right? And then that dedication, that motivation, that inspiration, it starts to dwindle. And that's something that's really important to be aware of is, you've got to really ask yourself, why is it that you want to get into powerlifting? Is it because you're inspired in the moment? And have you ever put yourself to the test for a long period of time when you don't feel like training? When you want to spend time, like this month, it's December, it's the holidays, and you would rather be home, or you'd rather go out to eat dinner, or you'd rather go to the movies, or you'd rather, like me, go sightseeing, right? Go out and be with your family and enjoy the holidays, right? You've got to really look deep inside yourself and ask yourself, why is it that you compete in the sport? Why do you want to do this? A lot of the top tier athletes that are doing what they're doing, it's fun for them because, one, they have some amazing abilities. And with hard work, they're able to really unleash those amazing abilities. A lot of the lifters that I see that when they first start out don't necessarily have initial fantastic abilities, but love doing what they do purely are motivated because they're thinking about long term. They're thinking about, what they could be if they continue. They have a good head on their shoulders, and they're not allowing the hype or, just the surface level things to take away from their passion and their inspiration for competing in the sport. This same thing can apply to maybe up and coming coaches, right? A lot of new coaches come into this game and they try it out, but they don't understand that, if you really want to coach at a high level, or if you want to compete at a high level, you need to lift when you need to lift, and if you're a coach, you need to work when you need to work. Now, the thing about coaching is a different animal, because if you're working to be one of the best coaches in the world, this is from my perspective, it's a no days off day. Literally, there will never be a day off. You will never have a day where you don't speak to athletes. You will never have a day where you don't program. And when you do program and when you do guide athletes, you need to be in a space of very well thought out, properly articulated thought process, where you're actually giving your athletes the information needed so that they can actually progress and they can troubleshoot issues that they're currently dealing with, or maybe things are going well, and you guide them in such a way where you can make things go from good to great. Whether it be for an athlete or a coach, you've got to really understand and ask yourself and know why you coach powerlifting or want to coach powerlifting, or why you want to be highly competitive, as an athlete or as a coach, whatever one, right? And it's gonna take those days where you don't feel like doing it. It's gonna take those days where you feel some pain in your hip or your knees or your wrists or your shoulders or your back. You've got to understand that there's a real cost of dedication and sacrifice in anything that you want to do if you want to be in that higher upper echelon of top tier coaches or athletes. And complaining, it doesn't really do much. If anything, it's draining. Complaining, you don't want to be in a negative mindset. You want to be in a place where, like, maybe a lift is not good for today, but you want to train your mindset to be in a place of, I get to lift today and I get to actually problem solve. So if it's not where I want it to be, I can learn, I can communicate with whoever I need to communicate, or I can do some trial and error things, right? I can test some things out, and I have the opportunity to actually at least still be able to lift, move, hoist, if you will, right? And so it's really changing the attitude and the mindset to, I get to do this, right? You've probably heard that many times before. Instead of I have to do this, it's more so I get to do this, right? And for me, I'm reminded almost every day, if not every day, and every week for sure, I'm in a beautiful position where I get to coach and I get to lift, and it's a privilege. And a lot of some people may have injuries right now where they can't really touch a barbell right now, or maybe they can't do a specific movement, and they need time to recover, right? And they wish that they could even load 2 reds, 3 reds, whatever the case may be, right? So again, tying into the theme of this video, I took 2 themes, I guess, 2 titles, and meshing them in together of why you won't make it. You're not going to make it in powerlifting as a coach or an athlete if you're focused on complaining, if you're focused on whoever your opponents are, whoever your competitors are, right? The competitors going against you in whatever upcoming meet. If you focus too hard on that and what their progression is and what they're doing, it's going to hurt your training. It's going to get into your head. You're not going to focus well. You're not going to be able to focus on what actually matters, which is, what is your total doing? What is your squat doing? What is your bench and deadlift doing? How are you going to progress them, right? So again, if you're always focused on things that are, surface level, superficial, or that just don't really truly contribute to your success, it's going to be hard to make it long term. And another thing too is, if you powerlift or if you train or if you coach powerlifting because of things are good currently, you know, maybe you're feeling good in training and you're not in pain right now. Maybe you're not highly fatigued. Maybe you're in a time frame where you have your baby gains, right, and things are fun. It's going to be hard to make it long when you go through time periods where maybe you're capped out at a weight class, or maybe there's just not much more room to grow in a particular class and you got to go up, right? I've had my fair share of time where I actually just broke a 3-year deadlift curse. And, that feels amazing because it's the essence of chipping away. And this segues perfectly into the other theme, which is the essence of dedication, where, when I started out powerlifting after playing football for over a decade, I was not strong. I wasn't the strongest, but I started to dedicate. I started to allow myself to learn. I was surrounded by amazing minds where I got to accelerate that learning, but also I had the mindset to allow myself to learn. And with time and just constant work ethic and, again, throughout an entire year, when you try to stay in your work and work with intent, even when you don't feel good, you don't want to do it, you don't want to study, you don't want to train, I got better. And every single day of accumulated improvement has allowed me to get to where I'm at today as a lifter and as a coach. And I'm extremely passionate and happy about where I am at. I'm the best I am currently today as a lifter. And I would like to think the same as a coach. And that only came from me staying focused and, putting in days like today where it's off of flight. I'm a bigger guy. My back doesn't feel good today, but I know that I need to continue stringing together stimulated training sessions so that I can long-term get to, establish and accomplish the goals that I have set out for myself next year, whether that be as a coach or as an athlete. So again, the essence of dedication, it's going to come from, you can't do this when things are good. You can't. You have to learn how to turn that switch on when things are bad or things are mild or meh, or as the kids say, mid, right? You've got to learn how am I going to get my energy up? How am I going to stay focused in this session? How am I going to be productive and progress, right? How am I going to problem solve, right? And walk out of the gym knowing that today I got better. Those things are incredibly important. So again, just wanted to get on here real quick, and I hope that I hit the nail on the head here. In summary, if you do things off of the highs of inspiration and motivation, it's going to be hard to make it in the sport. You've got to, for me, I don't have like a time duration on like, this is the best I can get as a coach or an athlete, and once I get there, I'm probably out of here. I used to do that, and even recently I actually made a story post. But then, the mood that you're in currently when you feel a certain way and how things are, but then you're able to figure things out, your mood can change. Your mindset on things can change, and that's the beautiful thing, right? And yeah, it can seem contradicting, but since that mindset, that mind frame, I've had a new revelation of I'm just going to keep working. And I've realized that when I just keep working, whether things are good or bad, I feel really good about the process. And I think that's like probably the biggest takeaway that a lot of people have talked about is I really enjoy training. I really enjoy programming. I really enjoy evaluating and assessing athletes' training and learning about the human body in powerlifting application and making the adjustments needed to help a lifter get better, or whether that be with myself and working with my coach who I delegate my programming, my training programming to, right? That entire process, coach or athlete, is incredibly fun for me. I'm very passionate about it. And again, I don't set a time frame to it. I just know that I want to be great. I know if I keep working, I've watched athletes in this sport and coaches in this sport who nobody knew a lick about who they were, or what they do, anything about them. And within a decade's time, they're one of the most renowned coaches or athletes out here. So, what you are now can absolutely change if you just continue to work, if you stay dedicated, if you understand that I'm willing to work as hard as I can, and I have to understand what is working hard in powerlifting, right? Which is consistency, which is making sure that you're navigating your training sessions properly, doing everything that you got to do outside of the gym correctly, communicating very well with your team, your coach, things of that nature, right? That's working hard and making sure that you do what you need to do when you need to do it. So again, it's going to be hard to last long in this sport if you do things off of just the superficial or the surface level things, right? The highs, the happiness, the hype, right? You've got to be willing to dedicate yourself when you're tired. If you're a coach, you're probably going to lack sleep. You're probably going to have to travel far. You're probably going to have a lot of work to do. And you're probably going to have to still, and if you train as well, you're going to have to get your training in still. And you got to make sure that before anything, you put your athletes first if you're a coach, right? If you're a coach first, your athletes have to be first at all times. And as an athlete, you got to understand that your training has to be first at all times. And that especially comes from the period of how competitive are you wanting to be? Because there's only a small bracket of powerlifters in this world that are willing, and their families even have molded their lives around that athlete's priorities, because they realize that, hey, this athlete's trying to be the very best, and this is their time window to do that, right? Now you have your outliers that are like in their 40s, age 40 group, right? It's like less than a handful of them, high 30s, mid 30s, and then most of the top tier athletes are like in their 20s or somewhere around the 30 range, right? But they understand the caliber of athlete that they are, and their families, their team, their circle understands what they're trying to accomplish. They've molded their priorities for that person around them, and that athlete has also molded their priorities as well. They've learned how to live life, but also know that training comes first. Training comes first. Now again, not everyone is willing to make that sacrifice for this and live in powerlifting in that way. But again, if you only do things based off of hype and motivation, you're probably not going to make it in powerlifting long. And that goes for athletes and coaches. So long summary, but hopefully that kind of ties everything up into one nice package here for this video. Just wanted to come on here real quick and give you guys something a little different. I had someone that reached out to me on Instagram and told me that everyone's always talking about X's and O's. Everyone's talking about powerlifting application, and I think that general consensus or the general knowledge is known. It's again, this field is quite saturated, so I think most people have a general idea of how to squat, bench, and deadlift. Now, there's a lot of articulated details, and I'll probably go into those. I'll probably do an X and O video probably next Wednesday. But just wanted to come in here and change it up for a bit. So just looking to give you guys diversified videos, whether it be, talking about stuff outside of application and practical advice about powerlifting, and then also give mindset stuff and so on and so forth. So I'm going to try and hit you guys from every angle. But yeah, I appreciate you guys' time. I try to shoot somewhere between 10 to 15 minutes on these videos, so hopefully you guys appreciate. I'm going to work to get better on these each time. And yeah, happy holidays. If you guys have made it this far, let me get hashtag dedication. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching. See you guys soon.